here in the preseason?
I think the strength of this team is our depth and our versatility. We have got a little bit of a Noah's Ark thing going. We got 2 or 3 point guards, 2 or 3 twos, 2 or 3 threes, 2 or 3 fours, a couple fives. We got guys that can play more than one position. So our versatility is important. Over the course of a season, you have games where you're going to have to play small, and you have to play maybe a little bit bigger, depending on your matchup. But I like this team. Really a hard-working team. I've always liked teams that tend to be a little more player coached versus the coach have to do everything. This team has some really good leaders, guys that take a lot of pride in what they're doing. So I like our team. You know, we'll see what happens as we go along. We've had 2 practices thus far, and you know things start to figure itself out. You know, a lot of people think coaches make all the decisions, but in reality, players really make most of the decisions, because for every action there's a reaction. You know, whoever plays good, then I choose that. The guy's not playing good, he's not playing good. We got to find a way to make him play better. But we have some good players. And then the other thing is our depth. You know, we have 10 guys that I feel comfortable putting in a basketball game. But I think where that really helps us is practice. You know, last year we finished the season with 7 scholarship players, and although that team won 4 in a row down the stretch, it was up 7 in the second half of our last game. You know, I sometimes just felt like, are we getting better? And I think the way you get better, especially in college basketball, is through competition and practice. And I think that's what I'm excited about, is how we're competing in practice every day.
All right, we'll open it up here for some questions. We have a microphone here, please. So if you have a question, just raise your hand and we'll get you a microphone as soon as possible here. Joseph, you got a question? Brett Dillon here in the back.
Coach, you mentioned depth. The fact that you have so much depth this year, is that the most dramatic difference from where you started last year?
No, that's just one of the differences. Everything's different. You know, this time last year, I'd never seen these guys play, that team play before. This time last year, I'd never seen J-Rod Stiggers in a game. You know, when you have a new coach, especially coming from the NBA, I hadn't followed college basketball at all. So last year, I was in the dark. You know, we just weren't very good. We just weren't very good. You know, I think a lot of people were waiting for us to get good. We didn't have the capability of being good. But that was more of a personnel thing. You know, as my grandmother would say, bless their hearts. And they tried hard, but you know, we just weren't good enough. This team's going to be good enough. So, but you know, when you inherit a program, you know, and Frank Hayes would be the first one to tell you, hey, you know, that's a pretty good situation I inherited. I have 5 starters coming back from an NCAA tournament team. You know, we didn't inherit that. You know, we got here and I had guys walking up to me in the hallway asking for releases because they wanted to transfer. And I said, now what's your name? They didn't know who they were. So last year doesn't compare to anything I've ever been through in my life. But this year, we were able to go out and recruit a team. Instead of just recruiting guys that fill out a roster, we recruited a team to help us win games. So that's the biggest difference, I think. We have strengths up and down the board, but mainly depth. You know, take the 4 spot, for instance. Last year, our starting center was Chicken. He started 31 games at the 5 spot, and I don't think he ever weighed a pound over 195. And then our backup 5 was J.C. Washington. He's 6'4" ¾ That was it. Our 4-man was Devontae, and our backup was McHale. who, I'm beginning to think if you're in the Bahamas, you're supposed to have broken bones in your feet. So that was it. You know, we didn't have another post guy. But this year, Devontae right now would probably start at 4. And then I'm not sure who the backup would be, because I really like the way Xavier Dupree's playing. You know, you got Xavier Dupree, you got Chicken. Then at the 5 spot, you have Kyle Meyer, you have Bert Nolly. And Bert, you know, we thought would be our starting 5 last year, but he tore his groin about this time of the year and had went to Philadelphia and had surgery. He was lost for the year, so that affected our depth. So they put guys in position they shouldn't have been in. For instance, Chicken didn't sign up to play the 5 spot. But that just gives you a difference in our personnel. We've got guys in the right position now. Chicken should be defending guys on the perimeter or mid-post. Not to say he won't play, if we were to go small, we may play Chicken there, who knows, but he's not going to get a steady diet at the 5 spot. And this time last year, we didn't have a point guard. LJ had come off his 2nd broken bone in his foot. And I don't think we got him until mid-December. Right now, I have 2 point guards that could start. Galen Robinson could absolutely start at point guard for this team, but so could Ronnie Johnson. LJ hasn't practiced yet because he's still going through conditioning. He just got cleared to do stuff Sunday, so I really haven't seen him yet.
Coach, on the trip to China, learn more about the team that you have right now. Moving forward, how much is it less of a having to start over and then just coming out and just going through practice like you would during the regular season?
That's a good question. I think, you know, I've gone on a few of those foreign tours, and I do think it impacts the way you start. For instance, we started practice October 11th. I think a lot of the teams started practice maybe a week earlier than we did. Maybe some started even earlier than that. But I think the way the rule reads is you go 42 days from the start your first regular season game, which ours is, I think, November 18th. Regular season game is 18th. And you go 42 days, and that's when you can start. So we could have started 42 days back from November 18th. But we decided to go, but you have to give them off 12 days in those 42 days. Nothing like NCAA to make it complicated. So by starting the 11th, the way we figured it out with our compliance speed was now we have to give them 8 days off. But the China trip really is influencing what we do. You know, usually the first 3 or 4 days is mostly instruction, you know, teaching and learning. I did that in July and August. We started practice July 28th and we left August 10th for Beijing. So we're already much further along. Forget last year's team. Nothing compares to that. We're further along than any team that I've coached at this point. Except for those teams that had gone on foreign trips. So, you know, we've got 2 or 3 different, I've been experimenting with lineups. I experimented with a lineup with Ronnie Johnson, Galen Robinson, Damian Dotson, Devontae Pollard, Kyle Meyer. Experimented lineup with Ronnie, LeBron Barnes, Dot, Chicken, Kyle. You know, but that's the strength of this team. We have a lot of ways we can go. We have, you know, the bottom line is we have a really good bench, and there's going to be some nights when you don't really see any difference in our bench and our whoever starts the game. And I told the team yesterday, we don't have a first team and a second team. We just got 10 Coogs. That's the way I prefer it.
Kelvin, if I'm not mistaken.
What is it? Oh, for you right here.
If I'm not mistaken, when talking about Chicken, you said that he's made a lot of improvements physically or you know, so on the court. But what have you seen from him that lets you believe that, you know, maybe he's either a different player or just, you know, ready to maybe turn that corner?
Yeah, I think there's always times in young men's lives where they make a decision on whether they really want to do something. It's important to them. And the thing I've observed with Chicken is him just getting in the gym working on his game. Not every kid loves basketball. There's some that love to play, but there's very few that love to work. There's a big difference in those two areas. And because they all have a uniform on, because they're on scholarship, they're not all the same either. You know, they all approach things differently. Some are analytical, some are pragmatic, some are very simple. There's some that it's like injuries. You know, pain's an opinion. Some guys have a high opinion of pain, some guys have a low opinion of it. And there's some guys that if they get a scratch on their shoulder, they may be out 2 days. There's some guy, LeBron Barnes gets 20 stitches, he may not miss a play. Well, he may miss a play to go get stitched up, he's right back in there. So everybody's different. But I'm anxious to see Chicken when the bullets start flying, because I do think he's a better player. Sometimes a guy like Chicken forgets to compete. You know, he wanders. His mind wanders instead of just really focusing on competing in everything they do. You know, in our practices, we purposely set our practices up where everything is competitive. There's a winner and loser in almost everything we do. And actually, in everything we do, there's a winner and loser. Winners clap, losers run. So you try to instill the most important thing at this time of the year, and this is where you're really forming your identity. Because good, bad, or indifferent, every team is going to be known for something. The good thing about this time of year is you get to determine what that something is. And for us, we want to be really competitive. One of the things I liked about last year's team, and I thought the strength of last year's team was that team competed. If they did, they had no chance. But that's why I think in 9 of our last 11 games, we led 9 of those games at halftime, including at Cincinnati on the road, Cincinnati at home, at Temple, at Memphis. When the Heat got on the kitchen, we just couldn't make baskets. We couldn't score enough points to stay in some of those games. But we figured out how to win games by shooting low percentage. For instance, Connecticut. We beat Connecticut, I think we shot 36%. Well, how is that? Well, if we shoot and miss it, get the rebound, shoot and miss it, get the rebound, put it in, that's 33%. Well, we just scored it. So we figured out the importance of offensive rebounding. We figured out the importance of valuing possessions. I think we had 1 turnover in that game, for instance. But it took that team a while to learn how to win. And it's going to take a while for this team to learn how to win. But it's like the old guys used to say, this team's got a lot more material.
And Coach, when you talk about the roster from last year and this year, it's like night and day. How does that affect your expectations? What are your expectations for this team this year?
I expect to have a good year. I think this team's going to win a lot of games. There's a lot of things, obviously, is out of your control. But I've always believed in the process. The process is more important than a goal, for instance. Like a lot of people have a goal, whereas when you break that down, you should put underneath it, okay, what are you willing to do that? That's far more important than the goal itself. That answer your question, Howard?
Yeah.
No, it didn't. That was straight BS.
That was cool, man.
Kelvin, when you guys are out recruiting, how much do you sell the history, tradition of the program versus where this is heading and the new facilities and the future of Houston basketball?
Yeah, another really good question. I think a little bit of all that, because I think the term Phi Slamma Jamma, for instance, I think will live in eternity. Most of these young guys coming up, they have no idea who certain people are, because think of when they were born and think of what you remember. But they're connoisseurs of the internet. And they go, and if you were to surf Houston Cougar basketball, somewhere in there is going to be Phi Slamma Jamma. And they know who Hakeem Olajuwon is. They know who Clyde Drexler is. When they trotted out the top 50 players in the history of the game of basketball, count how many schools had 3 of those 50. Elvin Hayes, Kim Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler. That's something to be proud of, very proud of. But I think that the thing that has really held Houston back over the years has been a lack of a commitment to help the basketball program. You know, they've done a good job of hiring coaches, but they haven't done a good job of making this program better. And I think that starts with the administration. And that's why I'm really happy about what Mac Rhodes did before he left, what President Couture has committed to, and what Hunter continues to do. You don't build programs for your coach. Coaches come and go, but this program will be here forever. But that practice facility, in the sense of practice facility is really the wrong terminology. It's a development center. Because we don't practice there. You practice where you play. We play in Hotline, so that's where we'll practice. But our kids will be developed in that development center. And that's a huge chip for us. And it really has been a game changer. For instance, we've had 2 kids, and 2 kids only, visit on recruiting official visits this fall so far. Is that right? Yeah, just 2. And both committed. And when I read their quotes, you know, they get interviewed about why did you choose Houston, you know, I just get goosebumps. And I don't know if it's goosebumps or shock when I hear them say because of the facilities. Because that's all that this place was like when I first walked in here. So how do you recruit? You know, you can only sort of pass so much. You know, these kids were, it's 2015, most of these kids, of course we're recruiting kids today, and it should make us all in this room feel old. We're recruiting kids today who were born in 2000. Think about that. And most of the kids on our team were born in, what, 96, 97, something like that. So they don't have a memory of anything. They don't know who you're talking about unless they really study Houston basketball. But in this day and age, a school like Houston doesn't take long for Houston to get good. This program can be really good. I think it can be special. I think I've said that before. And I mean that. It's just not coach speak. This program can. The city is unbelievable. The university. You know, being a Tier 1 university obviously academically gives us great credibility, but you know, there's good times and bad times to be going to certain programs. You know, it's the elevator approach. You're either going up or you're going down, but you are never standing still. Our university is going up in a lot of different ways. You walk around this campus. Look at the attitude of the students. Look at the students. You know, we're one of the most diverse campuses in the entire United States. We've got great leadership. There's an excitement that's almost palpable. And that's why I can't wait for basketball season to start. So I think people are going to get really excited about this team. And this is a great time to recruit here too. With the facility, it won't be long before something's announced about Hal Fines and the renovation there. So I'm excited about our future, but I'm more excited about this team.
Joseph, you got the ball.
Kelvin, along the lines of the commitment, I was curious, when you took the job, were there certain things that you set,
Yes.
You know, that you wanted to either see done or have done as far as before you committed to the job?
Yeah. Well, you know, I no sense going back over all that, but obviously there had to be some commitments made, not promises, commitments. You know, promises are very empty. You know, there has to be a commitment, and not just from one person. You know, I think it had to come from the president, had to come from the athletic director, but it also had to come from the Board of Regents. And we were able to get commitments from all 3 of those entities.
Anybody else?
What's the plan on LJ? How do you bring him along, and what do you want to see? Is there a timetable or?
Yeah, he's just got to get in conditioning now. He's been cleared to practice, but he's not in shape to practice. I think LJ's surgery was around March 20th, give or take a day or two, somewhere around March 20th. LJ hasn't done anything since the night he broke his foot against Cincinnati. these guys have been conditioning since June 1. June, July, started practicing 28th, played 4 games in China, come back, they took about a 10-day break in there, just to focus on school, and then we were right back at it. And then there was a 4-week conditioning program, which included some pretty intense conditioning. When I say condition, I'm talking a time-mile run. This team's the best mile. I wish I was coaching a basketball track team. We'd be pretty good in the mile. I think, what'd you run a mile in, Chicken? 5:05, 5:08? Chicken ran a mile in 5:05. What'd you run in, Kyle? 5:30. 5:30, think about that. Kyle's 6'10", weighs about 225. He ran a 5:30 mile. But they all have goals. They all have times they have to meet, or they have to do it again. And so, the old coach has his ways of getting them to make their times. But LJ didn't do any of that, so I didn't think it was fair to him. Sometimes you have to make a decision and bail a young man out, make sure that he puts himself in the best position where he can succeed. So he's got to get in shape. He's overweight and he's out of shape. So he's got to get his weight down. He's probably closer to a pulling guard right now than he is a point guard. But LJ is a sharp kid. He really is a sharp kid. Very smart. Has a lot of pride. There's no doubt that he'll be back out there as soon as he can.
Anybody else? One more for Joseph?
I just kind of house cleaning type stuff. Roster-wise, everybody that came out of the summer is still available.
Yeah, we have 13 players on our roster. 12 scholarship players in West End Beck.
All right. Thank you very much, Coach. We appreciate your time.